We was on the bottom, yeah. Now we headed to the top, new level. On my level, don't see anybody, I don't see him. This right here could never stop, this could never stop. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. One time, ay. I live on the job, right? Yeah, I'm always at work, right? Real people stay by me, right? Haters wanna do hurt, right? Know they tryna stop me, right? Drag my name through dirt, right? I don't feed into the hate, right? I just answer with a smirk.
You mentioned about your parents, right, and how they're Catholic, right? If you look on this sign, right, we're gonna show you some history of how your people became to worship, to think that they're Catholic, right? Because from the beginning,
I know how.
right. So you know that history, right? So I want to read this because that history that you know is also documented in the history book. Listen to this, let's read. The devastation is what the so-called Spanish Christopher Columbus did to our people. Listen to this, let's read.
The devastation of the Indies by Bartholomew de las Casas, page 33. And the Christians with their horses and swords.
Hold this sign up right here, soldier. Hold this sign up right here. This is some pictures of things that happened to our people in history.
Bring it up.
Read what you got.
And the Christians with their horses and swords and pikes began to carry out massacres and strange...
They did what?
Carry out massacres and strange cruelties against them.
So some of those massacres and strange cruelties that they did to our people, some of our sisters was pregnant. They cut the babies out of their stomach and dashed the babies against rocks. Right. They burned our people on stakes and forced that Catholic religion on us. Right. By the sword. They killed us by the millions. Right. But it's funny how in 2019, like you said with your parents, we easily say that we're Catholic. Right. When that was forced on our people. Read.
They attacked the towns and spared neither the children nor pregnant women, nor women in childbed, not only stabbing them and dismembering them, but cutting them to pieces as if dealing with sheep in the slaughterhouse. They laid bets as to who, with one stroke of a sword, could split a man in two, or could cut off his head, or spill out his entrails with a single stroke of the pike. They took infants from their mother's breasts, snatching them by the legs and pitching them head first against the crags.
So you got to ask yourself, sister, right? For the things that we're reading about, the history that happened to our forefathers and foremothers, what type of people would do these type of things? So now you know some of that history, right? We're reading out of a history book. So we're going to go back to the Bible and show you why did these things happen to us. And how we know that you're not Guatemalan, how we know that you're from the tribe of Zebulon. Right. Because you know that history, but we're going to help you connect the dots because this was prophesied to happen to God's chosen people for a reason. Right. So I want to ask you a question. The things that we just read out of that history book that happened to your foreparents, why do you think they happened? They need the resources. That's a part of it, but it's deeper than that. Any guess? You got any more things? So we're gonna. So that's another thing. What does Guatemala mean? A place of many trees. But it's funny how we walk around like the brother asks you your nationality. You say Guatemala, but we don't even know what that means. Right. A lot of us say we're African American. We are Hispanic, Cuban, Puerto Rican, but we don't know what these things mean. From the beginning, God never called you Guatemalan. So we're going to go back in history, and today we're going to prove to you out of the Holy Bible that you're not Guatemalan. Right. And then you can go share this information with your parents and show them the history that they're not Catholic. They are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. When they read this book, they're reading about the history of their people. But our people don't know that because, wow, we caught up in religion. Go back to Deuteronomy 4 and 44. Read this. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, right? You ever read about Moses, right? So Moses was an Israelite. God's chosen people. What do you know about Moses in the history of the Israelites? Correct. He split the sea, and God sent him to free his people out of Egypt. They was in Egypt in bondage, right? So we're going to listen to what Moses told those people, because the people that Moses was speaking to was these people you see on this sign. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. And let's see what Moses told them. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel.
This is the religion.
This is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel.
Baptist.
The law.
Catholic.
The law.
Moses never gave us religion. He gave us laws, statutes, and commandments to keep. So now we're going to go a little bit over, and let's see to get the context of who Moses was dealing with. Let me get Deuteronomy 1:1 right quick. And I also want you to get Deuteronomy 28 and 45. Read that. So pay attention, sis, because this is the context of who Moses was speaking to when he brought those people that you talked about out of Egypt, and he split the Red Sea. Let's see what Moses told those people. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1.
Bring it out.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Guatemalan.
Unto all Israel.
African American.
Unto all Israel.
Hispanic.
Unto all Israel.
So to recap of what we just read, who Moses was speaking to? Israel.
Right.
Israel. So we're going to go over a couple of chapters and let's see what Moses told the Israelites.
Bring it out.
Read what you got, 28 and 45.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 45.
Bring it out.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee.
All these what?
All these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee.
So is a curse a good thing or a bad thing?
No.
Hold this sign up right here, soldier. Is a curse a good thing or a bad thing?
Bring it out.
A bad thing. Would you agree that what we read in that history book about them cutting open the pregnant women's stomach, dashing the babies against rocks, killing us by the millions, would you consider that a curse, a bad thing, right? So now we're reading out of the Bible, and we're going to see why did those things happen to the children of Israel, not Guatemalans, because you are God's chosen people.
That's right.
Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed.
Read.
Because thou hearkenest not.
So why did these bad things happen to us? Pay attention, sis. We're going to find out exactly why did these things happen to us. Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Because we didn't obey the commandments that Moses gave us. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal.
Right.
We should marry our sisters.
Right.
Women shouldn't wear pants. This is the reason, the root behind why did these things happen to us. Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments.
To do what?
To keep his commandments.
His religion.
To keep his commandments.
To keep God's commandments. This is why this is so important, because we have to understand why did this happen to us. Because a lot of our people don't know. All we think, like you said, the example you gave, because of resources. It's deeper than resources. It's because we obeyed our God commandments. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are your forefathers. The men, the people you read about in this Bible, those are your forefathers. The blood of Moses, the blood of Christ runs through your veins, sister. You are the greatest people that's on this earth. Read verse 23. Deuteronomy, we're going to go over some more of these curses to help you connect the dots, to prove to you how we know that you are from the tribe of Zebulon and you're not Guatemalan. Because when you leave here, let's say if you go to your parents, right, and you tell them that, Mom, I learned today that I'm not Guatemalan, you will have to prove that to them. And how are you going to be able to do that? By opening up this Bible, go to Deuteronomy 28, and these are the curses that happen to God's people. And we're going to read another one of these curses, and you tell me that this not happen to our people. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 23.
Bring it out.
And thy heaven that is over thy head.
33.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 33.
Bring it out.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
Going into those resources of the land over there where our so-called Zebulon brothers and sisters reside today. That land of Guatemalan, Who's getting the resources of that land, sis? Read that from the top again. Listen to good to what God say, and what happened was prophesied to happen in the future to his chosen people for disobeying his commandments. Listen to this, let's read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not.
And what nation that was, sis? No, the nation that came against us and took our resources. The Spaniards, the Caucasians, the Spaniards. Read, listen.
Let's go!
And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
Would you agree that the people in that land of Guatemala are getting oppressed?
Right.
Are we getting oppressed also in this land?
Bring it out.
That was prophesied to happen because we broke God's commandments.
Bring it out.
We're going to get some more for you, sis. We're going to read some more of these curses to help you understand not only why did these things happen, but how we know that we are the 12 tribes of Israel. Read.
Verse 34.
49.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
Those same Spaniards, Christopher Columbus and the conquistadors. Read. And Ponce de Leon as well. Read.
From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flight.
So stop. He say a nation from the other end of the earth, as swift as the eagle fly. Where that sign at, right? Let me see this sign right here, right? So the other nation that God is talking about, they came from where? The west coast, Europe, Spain, all the way to the west coast of Africa and took our people. So it also said, read that part about the eagle.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, as swift as the eagle flieth.
So when you look at the back of a dollar bill, right, what symbol you see on that dollar bill? On the back of a quarter. Read that part again.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
That eagle, right? So let's examine that because God has given us clues into the nation that will come against us for breaking his commandments. Now you look at the symbol of Greek is the eagle. The symbol of Rome was the eagle. The symbol of Spain was the eagle. The symbol of America was the eagle. This was prophesied to happen to us because we broke God's commandments.
That's right.
God has given us clues because why? All these people with the symbol of the eagle, even though they're called by different names, they are the same people. The Caucasian race. And it was prophesied that they will come against us for breaking God's commandments. Listen good, says read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Let me ask you a question, right? Before Christopher Columbus and the conquistadors came, what language do you think your people were speaking? Different dialects, right? So we know, so the point I wanted to get out of that, right? We know for a fact that we wasn't speaking Spanish, correct? We didn't understand that part again, read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
They didn't care if you was an old man on a cane or a baby or infant. They killed us by the millions.
Right.
This is recorded. Remember, we read that same history in the history book.
Right.
But show her the front of this Bible. This is the Holy Bible.
Right.
This was prophesied to happen to us because we broke God's commandments.
That's right.
So let me ask you a question, sis. So what is your nationality? Israel. Israel is the nation that you come from. But the nation of Israel have 12 tribes. Jacob was the forefather. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. He had 12 sons. We are the descendants of those sons. And the son that you descend from is Zebulun. Zebulun. So we're going to read another history book to help you piece the puzzle together. Read what you got.
Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders, page 364.
So this going into the language that your forefathers and foremothers were speaking before the Spaniards came. Read.
Waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared, bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water's edge.
So this going into the so-called Mayans, right? Read.
The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montesinos could not understand.
So we're going to see specifically the dialects that you was talking about. What dialect they were speaking, right? Read.
Although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation, she then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his utter astonishment said, Shammai, Yisrael, Adonai, Elohinu, Adonai Ehud.
Read that again. This is the history of the language that your foreparents was talking. Listen good. Pay attention, sis. Read.
It said, Shammai, Yisrael, Adonai, Elohinu, Adonai Ehud. Hear, O Israel, the Lord.
Hear, O what?
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
The Lord our God. Because God is only the God of Israel. The 12 tribes. Which you fall under one of those 12 tribes. The tribe from Zebulun. Listen to it. Read.
They had recited in Hebrew.
In what?
In Hebrew.
In Spanish.
In Hebrew.
That dialect you was talking about is getting very specific. Your foreparents were speaking Hebrew.
That's right.
Hebrew. That's our native tongue.
Right.
You are an Israelite, sis. You're not Guatemalan.
Pick it up.
You are God's greatest creation. Listen to this. Let me get Deuteronomy 7:6 right quick, right? Because a lot of us will hear this information. Yeah, they say I'm an Israelite. But let's see how God sees you in his eyes. Read what you got.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
God is speaking about the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel, which you fall under one of those tribes, the tribe of Zebulun. Let's see how the Most High God, the creator of heaven and earth, feel about you, sis. Read.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people.
What does that part mean? If God chose us to be a special people, what does that mean, sis, in your eyes when you hear that? Chosen ones, right? But give me some examples of something that's special. That's correct. Culture, meaning what? The things we eat, the way we dress, the holidays we celebrate. Those are some of the customs that God gave us as his chosen people. Read.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Equal to all people.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
That's how the Most High God feels about you, sis. That's how he feels about his chosen people. We are above all people that are upon the face of the earth. But when you look at society today in 2019, are we above all people? No. So once again, why do you think we're not above all people? Because from the beginning, we were supposed to be above all nations. So what also was going on with you earlier, we fail as a people. Another example you gave, like your parents, your grandparents, they never wore pants. Why? Because they understood that was a part of our culture. Women to dress modestly. So why are we on the bottom today? White people, right? So that's the key thing, right? We say white people, but the root of it, we disobeyed God's commandment. And he sent them against us, like for example, you stay with your parents, right? If you do something that goes against your parents' rules, what will happen? You get beat, right? A form of punishment, discipline. It's the same thing with God. As his chosen people, because we disobeyed him, slavery was a punishment. Him killing us by the millions was a punishment. Why? For breaking God's commandments. Listen to this, sis. Read.
Hosea chapter 13, verse 9. O Israel! O Israel!
Which you are from the tribe of Zebulun. Read.
Thou hast destroyed thyself.
No, the white man.
Thou hast destroyed thyself.
Just like if you disobey your parents, right? And let's say they whoop you, right? What do they use to whoop you? Some of the things they use to whoop you. Shoe, belt. So God is telling us it's not just the white man. He just used them as a belt to punish us for breaking his commandments. So I want to ask you a question, right? Because you say the white man, right? Because when you look at society today, our sister wearing blonde hair, wearing pants, it all comes from the Caucasian.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, right? Who is that guy right there?
Bring it out. Bring it out.
That's who?
You said it already.
Jesus, right? So today in 2019, right, they taught us that this was Jesus, right? But when we open up the Bible and read it, can we find that image anywhere in the Bible?
Bring it out.
So why do we earnestly say that, okay, that's Jesus?
Jesus Cristo.
Remember, like your parents, right? How did they become Catholic? We read in the history book, it was forced on them.
Bring it out.
So just like today, because when they conquered us as a people, they killed us and forced us to say that that was Christ.
Right.
And in 2019, when we asked our people, who is this guy? We say that's Christ. Without no proof. Because that was forced on us for years, generation after generation.
I see us.
Until now, our kids, even our parents think that Christ was a white man.
Right.
But we're going to read in the Bible, read John chapter 7 and verse 38. I want you to listen to this, right? Because
Right there.
when it comes to the Bible, right, who are we to obey? The people that taught us that Christ was a white man, or do we obey what God say? What God say, right? So we're going to read to you out of the Bible what God say his son looked like. Listen to this. Let's read.
John chapter 7 verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said.
As the white man said.
As the scripture hath said.
Christ say, whoever believed on him, as the scripture hath said. Read.
Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
Then you will truly understand that Christ is not a white man.
Right.
Because why? You open up the Bible and read about Christ that was recorded in the Bible, what he actually looks like.
Right.
Because Christ is your forefather.
Right.
Is your forefather a Caucasian man? So how come, if it was prophesied, we read in the Bible that God's chosen people would go through oppression? Is the so-called Caucasian man going through oppression today? So how come all of a sudden, now when you open the Bible, they say Christ is a white man? It don't make sense. We have to prove all things. Now we're going to read to you out of the Bible what Christ actually looks like. Listen good, sis. Read.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 1.
Bring it out.
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
Revelation of who?
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
What does the word revelation mean? Reveal. Perfect. Correct. So now the Bible is going to reveal to you what Christ actually looks like.
That's right.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Because before you leave here today, we're going to make sure that God is going to make sure that you understand that you are from the tribe of Zebulon.
Right.
That Christ is not a white man.
Right.
We're going to read it to you out of the Bible. Listen good, sis. Read.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 14.
Bring it out.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
Stop right there. Say Christ's head and his hairs were white like wool, meaning what? The hair on his head and the beard on his face was white in color, woolly in texture. Look at this picture, right? Who they taught us this was Christ, right? Does this guy have woolly texture hair? No. So what does that mean? That's strike one. Listen to the top again. Listen good, sis. Read.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
So what nation of people have woolly hair today on earth?
Bring it up.
Woolly, like a sheep, right? Woolly texture hair. You see that? You see that? So another question, right? The so-called Guatemalans, right? Was you raised in America or was you raised in Guatemala? You was raised here, right? So have you ever seen a so-called Guatemalan that looks like maybe like this guy? Correct, but you have to understand they're not African. Just like you're not Guatemalan. It was something that was called divide and conquer.
Bring it out.
Because over the years, remember we read out of history book, they raped, robbed, and murdered our foremothers.
Right.
In the process of that rape, they mixed with a lot of our people. That's why you see some of the so-called Guatemalans, they might be dark as this guy. Some of them might be lighter than you.
Right.
And that's prophesied in the Bible. We're going to read that. We're going to come back to Christ.
Right.
Read Hosea chapter 7 and verse 8.
Bring it out. Bring it out. Bring it out.
Listen to this, sis, about the so-called Guatemalans, because those people that's in that land, you say that they African, they not African. They are the Israelites.
That's
But
right.
the reason we don't know that, they divided us with color and language.
Right.
Listen to this, sis, read.
Hosea chapter 7 verse 8.
Bring it out.
Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people.
A lot of times when you read in the Bible about Ephraim, Ephraim is the head tribe of the northern kingdom of Israel.
That's right.
The kingdom was split under King Solomon's son. You had the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the so-called blacks. They went one way, and the so-called natives and Hispanics, they went one way. So when you read about Ephraim, it's talking about Ephraim on down.
Right.
Read. Let's read about the tribe of Ephraim. The head tribe. Read. Listen.
Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Say what?
Is a cake not turned.
So let's examine that, right? You ever bake the cake? When you baking that cake, right, one side looks what color? And what the other side look like?
Right.
So we have to, this is what God is telling us. Some of our people will be darker than me.
Right.
Some of our people will be lighter than you.
Right.
But that still doesn't change the fact that we are all one nation of people.
That's right.
Those people that's in Guatemala that look like you say African, they not African, sis.
Right.
That was all by design to teach us that we were different people.
Right.
It's called divide and conquer.
Right.
That's why we're never able to prosper as a people, because we're fighting against each other.
That's right.
We don't understand in these last days, we have to come together as one nation of people.
That's right.
Go back to where you was at about Christ. Read.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool.
So who has woolly hair, sis? Your people as well. Not
That's
just
right.
us. Your people as well, because we are one nation.
That's right.
Read.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Read.
And his feet,
And his what?
and his feet.
So I'm looking at your feet, right? So if you look at a person's feet, right, will your feet be similar to the complexion of the rest of your body? It won't be similar. I'm looking at your feet, and I'm looking at your face. It's similar. Your feet may be a little bit lighter. Why? Because they don't get as much sun
Right.
as the rest of your body.
Right.
But it's similar to complexion. So we're reading about Christ's feet, right? Let's see what John the Revelator seen. Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
Feet was like what?
Unto fine brass.
So let's examine these images, right? Because when I asked you at first, you said that Christ, this was Christ, right? So after reading the Bible, which image looked more like Christ? Because it says feet was like fine brass. What color is brass? Brown, right? So we're going to get some more about Christ. Not only was it brown, but what else?
As if they burned in a furnace.
As what?
As if they burned in a furnace.
So not was he only brown, but it was like that he burned in a furnace. So if you burn anything in a furnace, what color would it turn?
Bring it up.
So what is the Bible saying? Christ is a very dark-skinned man.
Right.
We've been deceived in these last days.
Right.
And this information that's coming out, it's important that you know this, because you are God's chosen people.
That's right.
Once again,
Black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.